5th level is usually the turning point for D&D 5th edition, the point where spellcasters are slinging 3rd level spells like Fireball, and martialists are attacking twice every round. It's also the beginning of the 2nd tier of play. Because of that, the threats really start stacking up, leading to CR5 being much more deadly than those that came before them. And these monsters are the most threatening of the deadly CR5, representing the absolute cream of the crop. And stampeding its way into the number 10 slot, we have the Gorgon from the Monster Manual. From the name, you would assume that this creature is a snake woman that can petrify you. But thanks to a quirk of naming from older editions, this is actually a giant iron bull that can petrify you. It's hard to hit with a 19 armor class and has a good amount of hit points at 114. It excels at chasing you down, moving at a brisk 40 feet per movement, leading only the fastest to escape, or at least those with the ability to dash as a bonus action. If this Iron Bull charges you, it can hit you with both its Goring Horrors for 2d12 plus 5 and its Trampling Hooves for 2d10 plus 5. This alone isn't that frightening, but it is also capable of releasing a breath weapon that starts turning you to stone. If you fail the first save, you're restrained as you're held in place, beginning the process of turning to stone. A second failure finalizes the process, permanently turning you into a statue unless you're restored by a spell like Greater Restoration. Given that this spell is a 5th level spell that requires you to be at least 9th level to cast, at 5th level you will absolutely not have access to it. At least the Gorgon can only use its ability about once every 3 rounds. But even then, unless you take it out quickly, it could get 2 of these breaths attack off at a given combat. Because of its ability to permanently incapacitate a character and remove them from the campaign, this monster can be frightening to encounter. However, due to it having relatively straightforward attack patterns, the constitution save against the petrification being relatively low at only DC 13, and only needing 1 success out of 2 tries and the effect, the Gorgon firmly occupies the number 10 spot. Pretending very hard to be an egg in the corner at number 9, we have the Egg Hunter Adult from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons. This insect-like monstrosity is often found in dragon nests trying to eat dragon eggs and replace them with their own. So long as they stay still, they can hide at the start of combat and not even be recognized as combatants unless you have a very good investigation bonus. If noticed, they can attack twice with their proboscis, which is like the sucker of a mosquito, and deal 1d6 plus 5 piercing damage from just the penetration, plus 2d8 necrotic that they heal from, making their low hit points of 52 matter much less. In addition to the attack, they can also release a cloud of spores that poisons everything within 30 feet of them. So long as you're poisoned by it, you are effectively under the effects of the slow spell, being only able to take an action or a bonus action in a turn, not both, and being unable to take any reactions. At least once you save out of the effect, you're immune for a day. But if it does catch you, it can render you pretty helpless while it and its young slurp up your hit points to refuel theirs. Now, you can destroy these things with relative ease since they have no damage immunities or resistances, right? Anytime they take damage, they can use a reaction to get resistance to that damage, meaning if your spellcaster uses a fireball to burn them away, they can take half damage automatically. And they have proficiency in both dexterity and wisdom saving throws, plus they're immune to the frightened and poison conditions, making a lot of spells effectively useless against them. Ultimately, the best way to deal with these creatures is to focus them down, since they only get 1 reaction per round, or to hit them with multiple attacks, such as with the Scorching Ray spell, since they could only reduce 1 of the rate's damages. And at number 8, the insect of the Fiend world, we have the Mezzoloth from the Monster Manual. This fiend is a Yugoloth, the type of fiend that occupies the natural evil axis of the evil spectrum, and functions as mercenaries in the never-ending blood war between devils and demons, constantly shifting sides. Mezzoloths are the most common Yugoloth, and, as you would expect from a fiend, come with a laundry list of immunities and resistances. They are fully immune to both acid and poison, plus the poison condition, and they resist cold, fire, lightning, and non-magical physical damage. Because of this, it can be very difficult for a spellcaster to handle them, given that they resist your best damaging spells of this level, Lightning Bolt and Fireball. Worse, they have magic resistance, which means they get advantage on saves against any magic you try to use on them, including from magic items. They're fast, moving up to 40 feet every time they move, but they are mostly limited to fighting in melee. They can attack you with 1 claw for 2d4 plus 4 and follow up with their trident for 1d8 plus 4, since it'll be wielded in 2 of their 4 claws. Now, this would lead you to believe that they aren't very threatening. After all, their attacks don't do much damage, so they must just be good at tanking. So staying away from them must be the solution, right? Unfortunately for you, they can teleport 60 feet as an action every single round, which means they can move 100 feet in a round, crossing terrain and ravines to chase you down. They also have 60 feet of blind sight, which means they can see your invisible rogue approaching and try to get a sneak attack in them. To pair with it, it also has the ability to cast darkness twice per day, letting it see perfectly fine while you and your friends are completely blind. And if it teleports within the darkness, good luck finding it. As if all of that weren't bad enough, it also has the ability to cast Cloud Kill once per day, dealing 5d8 poison damage to whoever finds themselves inside of it every round, slowly eating away at your backline while the Mezzoloth fights the frontline in melee combat. If you ever encounter one, do your best to either buy them off or to kill them quickly before they completely devastate your party. Proving that even after their death, eye tyrants are terrifying, at number 7 we have the Beholder zombie from the Monster Manual. Luckily for anyone on the other side of this thing, being turned into a zombie isn't pure upside for a Beholder. They lose their brilliant mind for one, but are also reduced to 4 eye rays instead of their standard 10. They shoot one of these 4 at random as their primary attack, hitting with a paralyzing ray that can cause paralysis for 1 minute, a fear ray that causes you to be frightened for 1 minute, an enervating ray that deals 8d8 necrotic damage, or a disintegration ray that does a massive 10d8 force damage that literally turns you to powder if you hit 0 hit points from it. If you choose to get close to it, it may instead choose to bite you in a standard zombie fashion, dealing 4d6 piercing damage with its incredibly sharp teeth. These attacks together can make quick work of an unprepared party. Worse, since it's a mindless zombie, you'll likely fight more than just the Beholder zombie in any given encounter. Now, luckily this thing has relatively low stats, only having a positive saving throw bonus in Constitution and Wisdom, with everything else being a +0 or worse. That makes any damaging effect with a saving throw required fairly effective against them at worst, so long as it doesn't deal poison damage. Unluckily, a Beholder zombie has the Undead Fortitude feature, so it has a chance to survive any damage that would kill it unless it was dealt from a critical hit or radiant damage. This means you could be fighting an uphill battle against one of these things until it rolls low enough to finally die from the damage dealt. If you do end up squaring up against one of these monsters, try to stay more than 60 feet away from it and pick it off from afar. If so, it won't be able to do much to you. And coming to annihilate you whether you're ready or not, at number 6, we have the Revenant from the Monster Manual. This undead tirelessly hunts down whoever it considers to have wronged it, being granted a 1-year lease on life in order to accomplish their revenge. It is one of the few intelligent undead that can actually work with others, and it is not inherently evil. However, you may find yourself on the other side of the Revenant anyhow, if you intend to protect their target from death or are, unluckily, their target yourself. They are immune to poison and to charm, exhaustion, frighten, paralysis, and stun. Necrotic and psychic damage both do half damage to them, so don't try to hit them with the psychic lance. Beyond that, they have proficiency in 4 different types of saving throws: Strength, Constitution, Wisdom, and Charisma. This means that you can only reliably affect them with a Dexterity or Intelligence saving throw. They can also hit you with their fist for 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage each, and if you are their target, they deal a whopping 4d6 points of damage extra on hit. In addition, against their sworn foe, they can target them with a glare filled with their intense vitriol and hatred, forcing them to make a Wisdom saving throw or else be paralyzed until dealt damage by the Revenant, or until after the end of the Revenant's next turn, whichever is sooner, or are frightened of the Revenant once the paralysis wears off. And if you thought having a cleric in your back pocket was good enough to protect against one of these monsters, Revenants, unlike most other undead, are completely immune to the effects of Turn Undead. You can't even hide under the plane of existence because they always know the distance and direction to their hated foe, even through planes. On top of that, they regenerate 10 of their 136 hit points every turn as long as they didn't take any fire or radiant damage, so they will survive many rounds in combat unless you plan effectively and take them down swiftly. Even killing them doesn't keep them dead. Instead, just causes their soul to claim another corpse on the same plane after a day, continuing their hunt until their time runs out. The only real way to stop a Revenant before its time is to destroy its body and wish for them to move on to the afterlife without possibility of returning, or else trapping their soul so it cannot possess a new corpse, though this isn't truly a permanent solution. The only reason this creature doesn't find itself higher in this list is because unless the DM customizes it by adding weapons or spells from its past life, the only way a Revenant can damage you on its own is with its bare hands, having no way to deal any type of damage other than bludgeoning. And scrambling your brains before they scramble your body, coming in at number 5, we have the Umber Hulk from the Monster Manual. These large insectoid monstrosities used to be the slaves of the Yogi in a previous age. Now they burrow in caves underground, or deep in the Underdark, where they form their own tunnel complexes. Because of their habit of burrowing, these creatures can attack you from almost any angle, despite its size. And once it does, so much as looking at an Umber Hulk can be a death sentence. If you start any turn within 30 feet of the Umber Hulk and can see its eyes, you have to make a DC 15 Charisma save or else be unable to use reactions and be effectively confused by the confusion spell. But roll in a D8 instead with different weights to its results. On a 1 to 4, fully half the time you do nothing. On a 4 to 6, you run in a random direction. On a 7 to 8, you make a random melee attack either against a random creature within reach or randomly in the air otherwise, effectively wasting your turn. Now, you can just avert your eyes to avoid this save, but you cannot see the Umber Hulk until the start of your next turn, making you basically blinded. While it has you confused, it can hit you with each of its claws and then its mandibles, dealing 1d8 plus 5 and 2d8 plus 5 respectively, picking you off while you run around randomly, swinging into the air or spacing out in place. It can see twice as far as most creatures in the dark with 120 feet of dark vision, and it can feel any creature touching the ground within 60 feet of it through its tremor sense. If you do manage to make the save and try attacking this creature, you have to hit an 18 armor class, making it as resilient as a fighter in plate mail. However, this creature has no resistance to mental attacks itself, so any mind-affecting saving throw will have a good chance of succeeding, and as long as it's incapacitated or paralyzed, it cannot use its confusing gaze. So try using something that paralyzes it, even for a round, in order to give your party the opportunity to wail on it as hard as they can during that opening. Changing water into wine and people into mice, at number 4, we have the Transmuter Wizard from Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. Originally printed in Volo's Guide to Monsters, Transmuter Wizard are a specific kind of wizard NPC that you could fight against in towns, dungeons, or anywhere you might find yourself, given that they can have the same reason for being in locations as you. Each of them has a different passive benefit, from 60 feet of dark vision to constitution saving throw proficiency to one type of energy resistance or even 10 feet extra movement speed. Because of this, you'll never be quite sure what the DM has put in front of you, even if you know that it's a Transmuter Wizard. They natively have intelligence and wisdom saving throw proficiency, making it unlikely you'll be able to pin them down with a hold person. They can cast telekinesis once per day, using it to either move massive objects with their will alone, or to telekinetically restrain you and move you wherever they want. They also have 2 uses each of spells like Fireball for damage, hold person to lock down one particular enemy, Polymorph to either give themselves or an ally a powerful transformation, or change an enemy into a creature incapable of combat, and even Slow to weaken your entire party at once by halving their speed, giving them a penalty to AC and dexterity saves, preventing them from using reactions, and also making them choose between an action or bonus action on their turn. Even if they don't cast any spells at you, they can make 3 arcane burst attacks each turn, which deal 3d10 plus 3 acid damage apiece, easily able to clear large pools of hit points. And as a bonus action on their turn, they can change the passive benefit the DM chose for them to start the fight with to another applicable one, recharging on a roll of a 4, 5, or 6 on a d6 at the start of each of their turns. With these abilities at the disposal, they only have a 15 AC with mage armor and only 49 hit points. But they are wizards and therefore very smart. They are only going to attack you when they have the upper hand, through terrain, numbers, or both. If you get attacked by a group that includes a wizard, take the squishy caster out first before you get slowed into a fireball and then picked off one by one. Like a cocktail for aberrations that haunt your nightmares, at number 3, we have the Mindwitness from Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse. This creature was first printed in Volo's Guides to Monsters, used to be the Beholder, but then it got soaked in the juices of a Mind Flayer Elder Brain and turned into the worst combination of Beholder and Mind Flayer that you can imagine. Why would an Elder Brain want a Mindwitness? Well, these things can act as forwarding systems for telepathic messages, sending a message from itself to up to 7 other creatures within 600 feet. This boosts productivity of a Mind Flayer colony by a ton, and it means if you encounter this with a group of other telepathic creatures, they will always be appraised of everything going on in combat due to this creature acting as a radio hub. If you want to take it out, you'll have to get past its ability to fire 3 of its 6 eye rays at random, potentially all aimed at one target. The effect of these rays varies from just giving you disadvantage on attack rolls for a minute to dealing 68 psychic damage to even stunning you for a minute, potentially locking out of actions until you succeed on a save. If you get close, it can also bite you and strike you with a tentacle instead of using rays, dealing 46 plus 2 piercing damage with its teeth and 48 plus 2 psychic damage with its tentacle. And if the tentacle hits, it automatically grapples you and you have to save against being additionally restrained. The ability of these creatures to lock down combat and to dish out tremendous damage makes them a threat to be reckoned with, though they luckily only have 75 hit points and only 15 AC. Their minds are an iron trap, with high bonuses to both intelligence and wisdom saving throws, so don't even try to use a spell like Hideous Laughter because they're liable to succeed. On the other hand, if you can force them to make a strength or charisma saving throw, they have no bonuses at all, so Earthen Grass is a strong choice against them to turn the tables and lock them down instead. Worshipping the deep waters and its mightiest predator, our penultimate monster, the Kraken Priest from Mordenkainen Presents Monsters of the Multiverse, earns its second place spot. They get their potency literally from the Kraken itself, being granted priestly powers through worship of their bed tentacle monster. These powers also give the Kraken Priest a clear visual difference from their peers, from tentacle hair to black eyes to gills. Regardless of their visual gifts, they can all breathe water as well as they can air, and swim just as fast as they walk. When they attack, they can either do so through touch, causing a crack of thunder to deal 5d10 thunder damage, or through a bolt of lightning that deals 2d10 lightning damage and 2d10 thunder damage both, knocking a hit target prone from the force of the impact. Regardless of the attack option they choose, they can do so twice when they attack for a truly impressive amount of damage. Beyond and above, or rather below, given their predilliance for the deep, the Kraken Priest also has spells at their disposal, well themed to the Oceanic originator. They can cast Command at will, allowing them to repeatedly give orders to your party that may be hard to resist. 3 times per day each, they can cast spells like Control Water to flood an area, or create a whirlpool, Darkness to hide themselves and their allies from sight, or create the perfect conditions for an ambush, or Water Walk to give themselves the ability to assail you from a surface you cannot cross without difficulty. In addition, they have the ability to cast Black Tentacles, restraining your party and damaging them over time, leaving you vulnerable to their Thunderbolt attacks. Once in an encounter, they can also allow their Kraken Master to speak directly through them, the speech of the deep ocean causing fear in anyone within 300 feet of the Kraken Priest that opposes them. Luckily, they don't have any resistances or immunities, so you can feel free to hurl your fireballs and lightning bolts at these creatures as much as you want. They also have 75 hit points and 15 AC, which makes them able to survive a round or two of focused attacks. But as Servants of the Sea, you should expect trickery from them as well as minions that likewise exist in sea-bound servitude. Because they can attack you from out of reach of your melee characters, they can lock down a significant area with their spells, and they can deal a truly devastating amount of damage with their attacks, the Kraken Priest is comfortably suited to the second place on this list. And making our way to the top, we find ourselves in Shadows, where poisoned words and blades strike you unawares, enhanced by their boss, number 1, the Ambitious Assassin from the Book of Many Things. This creature is so potent that it has 2 different CRs. One for when it's found within its lair, and the one we'll be focusing on finding the Ambitious Assassin outside of their lair. As one of, if not the only CR5 creature with legendary actions, this rogue can change 2 saving throw failures to successes each day, and comes with its own suite of legendary actions it can take, with 3 legendary actions per round. It can use its cunning to escape any non-magical restraints, and the grappled condition, and then move up to its speed of 40 feet without provoking opportunity attacks, including climbing with its climb speed. It can use 2 of its actions to take a stab at someone, attacking with its poison blade for 1d4 plus 4 piercing, and an extra 1d10 poison damage on each of its hits. It can strike with 2 poison blade attacks as well. Lastly, it can use 3 of its legendary actions to cause a distraction, as it makes a vanishing escape. A 10-foot area cube within 5 feet of the Ambitious Assassin takes 2d8 psychic damage, and it becomes invisible until the end of its next turn, giving it the ability to reposition and attack with advantage to dish out damage while being hard to target. As a roguish sort, the Ambitious Assassin has proficiency in dexterity and intelligence saving throws, making it unlikely that a fireball that catches them within its area will do that much damage to them. If you do manage to deal a lot of damage with an attack, such as with a Paladin Smite, the Ambitious Assassin has Uncanny Dodge to reduce the amount of damage it takes to half. And just because you found them outside their lair doesn't mean they have no benefits for being in the general area. So long as they're within 3 miles of their lair, you and your allies have disadvantage on insight, perception, and persuasion, making it much harder to see through their lies, to get aid, and to see the Ambitious Assassin or their allies coming. In the same area, their toxins are also much more potent, ignoring resistances, but not immunity to poison damage. This means even if you have resistance to poison, their poison blade is going to deal that extra 1d10 damage. They also have 91 hit points and a 15 AC, making them one of the tougher foes on this list just in HP and AC alone. Because the Ambitious Assassin is able to avoid attacks, strike from the shadows, run circles around you while their allies pick you off, and use their legendary actions to make every round go much more in their favor, they are a clear choice for the top slot. And those are the top 10 strongest CR5 monsters, pulling from only core rulebooks or supplements. Are there any other creatures of CR5 that you would rather not fight, creatures that you think deserve a spot on this list? How about homebrew creatures your DM sent at your 5th level party that you weren't sure you were going to make it out against? If so, let us know down in the comments.